Ladies and gentlemen, there are times in life when words should not flow freely but should be withheld. Silence, my friends, can be one of the most powerful tools we have in shaping our destiny. In fact, there are certain situations where silence is not only golden, but it's also necessary for personal growth and success. Let me share with you 10 situations where, if you choose to remain silent, you will find yourself in a stronger position than if you were to speak. We've all been there, haven't we? We think we know the whole story, but we don't. The best advice I can give you is this: wait. When you don't have all the information, don't rush to speak. Take the time to listen, learn, and gather all the facts. In those moments of quiet, clarity will come. You've probably had people yell at you, criticize you, or even lash out in frustration. In these moments, silence is your shield. Responding with more words or more emotion will only escalate the situation. Instead, remain calm and composed. Your silence will speak volumes and show that you are in control of your emotions, which is far more powerful than any retort. It's easy to get caught in gossip, in tearing someone down to feel better about ourselves. But when you remain silent, you rise above that pettiness. Every word you speak is a reflection of your character, so choose them wisely. In these moments, silence is your strength. People want to be heard. When you talk over them or interrupt, you rob them of their opportunity to express themselves. The greatest leaders in the world are those who listen more than they speak. Practice the art of silence and listen with intent. There's power in silence that can lead to better relationships and greater understanding. Sometimes we feel compelled to speak just because we're uncomfortable with silence or we feel the need to offer advice. But if you don't fully understand a situation, hold your tongue. Resist the urge to speak prematurely. Often the best move is to wait, observe, and understand more before giving your opinion. When emotions run high, decisions made in the heat of the moment are often the ones we regret. Before reacting to a situation or making an important decision, take a step back. Don't let your emotions dictate your actions. Use silence as a space for reflection, and you'll make better, more thoughtful decisions. When you're in the presence of someone who has more experience, knowledge, or wisdom than you, do yourself a favor, be silent. You can learn so much from them. Your silence is a sign of respect, and it gives you the opportunity to absorb the lessons they're imparting without distraction. There are times when life gets heavy, and the weight of it all can overwhelm you. In those moments, don't force yourself to speak. Sometimes the best thing you can do is be silent and allow yourself the space to breathe, think, and regroup. Silence gives you the pause you need to regain your strength and clarity. Criticism is hard to handle, but the last thing you should do in those moments is defend yourself immediately. Take a moment, reflect, ask yourself if there is truth in the feedback. Silence allows you to process rather than reacting out of pride. In the long run, it's your ability to listen and learn from criticism that will shape your success. There are times in life when we're not yet ready to express our true thoughts, feelings, or beliefs. And that's okay. Don't feel pressured to speak if you haven't fully processed what you want to say. Sometimes the greatest courage lies in remaining silent until the right time comes to share your truth. So my friends, remember, silence is not the absence of words, it's the presence of wisdom. By choosing to remain silent in these situations, you give yourself the gift of reflection, understanding, and growth. You empower yourself to respond with purpose, clarity, and intention. Practice silence and you'll find yourself moving through life with more confidence, peace, and power. There are times in life when we feel the urge to speak, to share our opinion, to offer advice, but the reality is we don't have all the facts. And in those moments, it's crucial to recognize the power of silence. Too often, we rush into conversations with only half of the story. We hear a few details, maybe a few words from one person, and we immediately think we have a clear picture. But the truth is, without all the information, we're guessing. And when we guess, we risk making mistakes. When you don't have all the facts, silence is not just a choice, it's wisdom in action. It's the recognition that you don't know everything and that, in order to truly understand, you must take a step back. The truth will always reveal itself in time, and when you choose silence, you give yourself the space to gather that truth. Consider this: in any situation where you don't have all the details, speaking too soon can cause confusion, harm relationships, and even lead to regret. It's like trying to put a puzzle together with missing pieces. You might think you've got it figured out, but it's not the full picture. You might build a story in your mind based on limited information, but without the complete set of facts, you can't know the truth. There is power in holding back when you're unsure. Silence allows you to observe, to listen carefully, and to learn. When you speak too early, you risk embarrassing yourself. but more importantly, you risk misunderstanding the situation. The key is to be patient, to wait until you have a clearer understanding before you open your mouth. In fact, the ability to stay quiet when you don't have all the facts is a sign of strength. It shows that you value the truth more than your own need to be heard. It demonstrates humility, and it gives you the opportunity to gather information from different perspectives, to truly understand before making judgments. Remember, the less you speak, the more you learn. And when you finally do speak, your words will carry the weight of understanding. So don't rush into conversations. Don't feel pressured to offer your opinion or to solve problems when you don't have all the facts. Instead, practice the art of silence and allow the full picture to unfold before you take action. When someone is angry or upset, the most natural response is to want to fix it, to offer a solution, or to defend ourselves. But in these moments, silence becomes a much more powerful tool than words. You see, when emotions are high, logic and reason often take a back seat. And if you respond to anger with anger or frustration with frustration, you're only adding fuel to the fire. It's in these heated moments that you need to remember this: your calm, your poise, and your silence will speak volumes. You don't have to answer every emotional outburst, and you don't have to react to every comment made in anger. Sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing at all. Why? Because when someone is upset, they're often not looking for a solution, they're looking for validation, for understanding. They need to feel heard. The last thing they need in that moment is someone else trying to fix their emotions or make them feel like they're wrong for feeling the way they do. Silence in these moments is a gift, not just to them, but to you as well. It's a chance for you to remain centered, to maintain control over your own emotions. And it's in that quiet space that you can better gauge how to respond with wisdom and compassion. Here's the thing: people who are upset need space to express themselves. They need to release their frustration, even if it's directed at you. If you try to interrupt, defend yourself, or provide solutions before they've had the chance to fully express what's bothering them, you may inadvertently make them feel unheard or misunderstood. But when you remain silent, you give them that space. You show them respect by allowing them to be heard, and in turn, you show yourself the discipline to stay calm and not get swept away in the emotional tide. Of course, there's a time to speak, but it's in that moment of silence that you have the opportunity to truly understand what the person is feeling. When you're silent, you're listening not just to their words, but to their emotions, their body language, their tone. And by doing this, you can respond in a way that is thoughtful and supportive rather than reactive and defensive. It's also important to remember that anger often passes with time. If you rush in with a quick response, you may be adding to the problem, prolonging the frustration. But if you allow that moment of anger to settle, you create space for calmness and clarity to emerge. And once the storm is passed, you'll find that you can approach the situation more effectively and with a clearer mind. In the end, silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the ability to control your emotions, to choose your response carefully, and to give the other person the respect of being heard without jumping in with a quick fix. When someone is upset, remember, you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to argue or defend yourself. What you need is the wisdom to know that silence in those moments is not only the best response, it's often the most powerful one. There's a temptation we all face at one time or another, the urge to speak ill of others. We've all had moments where someone has wronged us, disappointed us, or simply annoyed us, and in those moments it can feel so good to vent, to share our frustrations with someone else, or to put that person down to make ourselves feel better. But here's the truth: when you speak ill of others, you are not just hurting them, you're hurting yourself. You're diminishing your own character, your own reputation, and your own potential. You see, words have power. They have the power to build or to break, to uplift or to tear down. Every time you speak ill of someone else, you weaken your own integrity. You lower yourself to a level that doesn't serve you or the people around you. You may think that gossip or negative comments are harmless, but they are not. They erode trust. They build walls instead of bridges, and they cloud your own mind with negativity. When you feel that urge to say something critical or unkind, remember this: silence is your shield. It's the mark of a person who understands that their words reflect their character. Instead of indulging in the temptation to gossip or speak badly about someone, choose to be silent. Not only does this prevent you from contributing to the negativity, but it also gives you the space to reflect on the situation more clearly. You may find that the things you wanted to say were based on assumptions or misunderstandings, not on facts or truth. By staying silent in these moments, you also demonstrate the maturity to rise above the pettiness. It's easy to fall into the trap of criticizing others, to use their flaws as a way to deflect attention from your own weaknesses. But the most successful, happiest people are those who don't waste time talking about others in a negative light. They are too busy focusing on their own growth, their own progress, and their own goals. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore your feelings. We all experience moments of frustration or hurt, and it's natural to want to talk about them. But instead of speaking ill of others, find a constructive outlet for those feelings. Speak to someone who can help you understand the situation better, someone who can provide wisdom or offer advice without gossiping or indulging in negativity. Or better yet, take the time to reflect quietly on the situation, to consider how you can rise above it and move forward without getting caught up in the drama. Silence in this context is an act of strength, not weakness. It takes strength to choose not to engage in negativity, to resist the urge to tear someone down. When you choose silence over speaking ill of others, you are choosing to protect your own peace, your own integrity, and your own character. You are choosing to stay focused on your own journey rather than getting lost in the noise of others' mistakes or shortcomings. In the end, speaking ill of others only reflects poorly on you. But choosing to remain silent, to refuse to engage in gossip or negativity, shows maturity, self-control, and wisdom. It shows that you understand that your time and energy are better spent building yourself up rather than tearing others down. And that, my friends, is the path to true success and fulfillment. One of the greatest skills we can develop in life is the ability to truly listen. In a world where everyone is eager to share their own opinions, ideas, and experiences, the ability to stay silent when someone else is speaking is more valuable than you might think. Too often, we interrupt, finish other people's sentences, or wait for our turn to talk instead of truly paying attention. But let me tell you this, the more you listen, the more you learn, and the more you grow. When someone else is speaking, especially if they are sharing something important to them, it's not the time to think about what you're going to say next. It's the time to absorb their words, to understand their perspective, and to be fully present in that moment. Think about it, how often do we actually listen to understand and not just to respond? When we're quick to interrupt or speak over others, we not only miss out on their valuable insights, but we also send a message that we're more interested in our own voice than in theirs. The power of silence in these moments is immense. It shows respect for the other person, and it demonstrates a genuine interest in what they have to say. By staying silent, you give them the space they need to express themselves fully. This simple act builds rapport, fosters trust, and strengthens relationships. When people feel heard, they feel valued. And when people feel valued, they are more likely to open up, to share more deeply, and to trust you in return. But there's another layer to this. The more you listen, the more you learn. Every person you meet, every conversation you have is an opportunity to expand your knowledge. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. But others have wisdom, experience, and knowledge that we don't yet possess. And the only way to access that wisdom is by listening carefully and without interruption. The more you stay silent and truly hear what others are saying, the more you absorb and take in. And over time, that accumulated knowledge can change the course of your life. In any conversation, the first person who speaks is usually the one who dominates, but the one who listens carefully without interrupting, without jumping in with their own thoughts, often ends up with the greater reward. Why? Because they've not only gained understanding, but they've also earned the respect of the speaker. And in turn, this strengthens their own position in any relationship or negotiation. You also have to recognize that silence in these moments is an expression of emotional intelligence. It takes self-control to not speak out of turn, to not jump in with your thoughts the minute someone pauses. The key is not just to listen to the words, but to pay attention to the tone, the body language, and the emotions behind those words. Silence helps you process all of this more effectively. It allows you to read between the lines and understand what's really being said, not just on the surface, but deep down. There's something incredibly powerful about the quiet person in the room who listens intently. That person knows that they don't need to be the center of attention. They understand that the true value lies in understanding others first. They know that the best leaders, the most successful people, are the ones who take the time to listen, to learn, and to respect what others have to say. So when someone else is speaking, resist the urge to dominate the conversation. Let go of the need to always have the last word. Choose to stay silent, to absorb, and to learn. In doing so, you not only gain knowledge, but you also build deeper, more meaningful relationships with those around you. The more you listen, the more you'll grow, and the more you'll find that success will naturally follow. There are moments in life when things aren't clear, when the situation isn't fully understood, and our first instinct is to react. But I want you to remember something important. When you don't understand a situation fully, it's always better to stay silent and wait for clarity. Too often, we feel the need to speak or make a decision right away, especially when emotions are involved. But making decisions or offering advice based on incomplete understanding is like trying to build a house without a solid foundation. It's bound to collapse. In those moments of uncertainty, silence becomes your greatest ally. Instead of rushing in with an opinion or jumping to conclusions, take the time to step back, observe, and let the full picture reveal itself. The more you rush in without all the facts, the more you risk saying the wrong thing or making the wrong move. The truth is, we often don't see everything in a given situation, and when we speak or act before fully understanding, we miss out on the bigger picture. Think about it. How many times have you been in a situation where you thought you knew what was going on, only to find out later that there were details you didn't know? It happens to all of us. But if you had stayed silent or taken the time to listen, you might have had a better perspective. Staying silent in the face of uncertainty allows you the space to process, to reflect, and to gather the information you need to respond thoughtfully. When you choose silence, you are practicing patience. You are giving yourself the opportunity to learn more before you react. In life, things are rarely as simple as they appear at first glance. There are always multiple layers to a situation, emotions, motivations, and perspectives that you might not be aware of. And until you take the time to truly understand those layers, it's best to remain silent. Silence doesn't mean you're disengaged. It means you are giving yourself the best chance to respond with wisdom rather than react with impulse. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. When you don't fully understand what's going on, it's easy to fall into the trap of offering an opinion, trying to solve a problem, or even giving advice that may not be relevant. But unless you're sure of the facts and the context, how can you possibly know the best course of action? More often than not, it's in the silence that you gain the insight you need to make a more informed, more thoughtful response. When you take the time to truly understand the situation, whether it's by observing, asking questions, or simply giving it time to unfold, you become much more capable of making sound decisions. The most successful people don't react immediately. They take the time to understand the circumstances, to gather the facts, and then respond with clarity and intention. This is how great leaders, great thinkers, and successful individuals navigate the complexities of life. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where things aren't clear, remember this: silence is not weakness. It's strength. It's a sign of wisdom. Instead of reacting out of uncertainty, take a breath. Allow yourself the time to gain a deeper understanding. In doing so, you'll not only avoid making rash decisions, but you'll also position yourself to respond with more clarity, more insight, and ultimately greater success. We all face moments in life when we feel the pressure to make quick decisions that seem urgent or critical in the moment. The problem is, in those moments of high emotion or pressure, we often find ourselves making rash decisions that we later regret. The impulse to act quickly, to solve the problem right now, can cloud our judgment and prevent us from making the best choices. And when we make decisions in haste, without taking the time to think things through, we often end up looking back and wishing we had taken a moment to pause. Here's the key: when you feel the urge to make a rash decision, that's the exact moment when you should choose silence, pause, and step back. You've heard the phrase count to 10, and there's wisdom in that. In moments of stress or urgency, giving yourself a brief moment of silence allows you to regain your composure and perspective. The longer you allow yourself to remain silent and reflective, the more you allow your mind to clear. In that space, clarity emerges. Understand this: no decision, no matter how big or small, should ever be made when you're in a state of heightened emotion. Whether it's anger, frustration, fear, or excitement, emotions can cloud your judgment and lead you to make decisions that aren't rooted in logic or clear thinking. This is why silence is such a powerful tool. When you step back from the emotional state and simply remain silent, you allow the fog of impulsive thinking to clear. This creates the space to think more clearly and more rationally about your options. A rash decision is often made from a place of fear of missing out, fear of losing an opportunity, fear of not being in control. But the truth is, when you let fear drive your decisions, you're not acting with confidence or wisdom. You're reacting. And when you react, you tend to make mistakes. Silence gives you the opportunity to replace that fear with a calm, rational thought process. It allows you to make decisions from a place of strength and clarity, not from a place of panic. Another thing to keep in mind is that decisions often feel urgent, but most decisions are not as urgent as they seem. In fact, many times the pressure we feel is self-imposed. We convince ourselves that we need to act immediately, but in reality, taking a little extra time to think, gather more information, or consider other perspectives can lead to far better outcomes. The most successful people understand that waiting, reflecting, and being patient isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. And often the best decisions are the ones made with careful thought and consideration, not the ones made in haste. When you feel yourself being pushed toward making a rash decision, ask yourself, what am I really trying to accomplish here? What's the best outcome I can achieve? Give yourself the time to reflect on these questions before acting. Silence, in this case, is an act of strength and discipline. It's the ability to step back, assess the situation, and choose the course of action that will lead you to long-term success rather than a short-term reaction. Remember, every decision you make shapes your future. The decisions you make today will determine the life you lead tomorrow. So before you rush into anything, take a moment to breathe, reflect, and most importantly, choose silence before making a rash decision. In that silence, you'll find the space to think more clearly, to make better choices, and to steer your life in the direction you truly want to go. When you find yourself in the presence of wisdom, recognize that you are in the midst of something rare and valuable. Wisdom isn't something you come across every day. It's not something that can be bought, forced, or rushed into existence. It's earned through experience, reflection, and deep understanding of life's lessons. And when you encounter it, there is a natural temptation to speak, to share your own ideas or opinions, but in that moment, silence is often your greatest ally. When you're in the presence of wisdom, your best move is to listen not just with your ears, but with your entire being. Take in every word, every gesture, every pause. Wisdom speaks in more than just words. It speaks through the tone, the delivery, and the actions of the person sharing it. You'll find that the greatest lessons come from those who have lived, who have made mistakes, learned from them, and now share their insights not from a place of ego, but from a place of humility. There's something incredibly powerful about listening to someone who has walked a longer path than you, who has faced challenges you haven't yet experienced and come out stronger on the other side. They carry a sense of calm and clarity that comes from having navigated life's complexities. And the truth is, the more you listen, the more you absorb, the more you begin to see the world from their perspective, one that is broader, deeper, and more grounded. When you speak in the presence of wisdom too soon, you risk interrupting that flow of understanding. You might unintentionally diminish the lesson being offered, or worse, you may miss the chance to learn something that could have changed your life. There's a time to speak, yes, but the time to speak is always after you have listened, after you have allowed the wisdom to sink in, and sometimes that means being silent for longer than you may want to be. In that silence, something incredible happens. You begin to internalize the wisdom. You start to see patterns, to understand the nuances of the advice being given. What might have seemed like simple advice at first begins to reveal deeper meanings as you let it marinate in your mind. By listening and staying quiet, you open yourself up to the full power of what is being shared. This isn't just about hearing words, it's about absorbing the wisdom in a way that changes your thinking, your approach, and your outlook. Silence in the presence of wisdom is an act of respect. It shows that you value what is being shared and that you recognize that the speaker has something to offer that you don't yet possess. It's a sign of maturity to listen and learn, rather than speak and teach, when you're in the presence of someone with a deeper understanding. And let's be clear, the presence of wisdom isn't just found in grand speeches or dramatic moments. It can be found in quiet conversations, in the subtle guidance offered by a mentor, or in the small lessons that come from the people around you every day. If you're paying attention, wisdom is everywhere. It's in the way people handle adversity, in the way they carry themselves through challenges, and in the quiet moments when they share their thoughts with you. So the next time you're in the presence of wisdom, choose silence. Let it guide you. Let it shape your thoughts. The more you absorb from others who have lived and learned, the more you will begin to see the world through their eyes. And that, my friend, is how you grow. When you remain silent and allow yourself to learn from those around you, you position yourself for greater understanding, greater success, and a deeper appreciation for the journey that lies ahead. When you're feeling overwhelmed, it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to do everything all at once, to race against time and fight against the pressure that seems to be mounting. In those moments, the world feels heavy, and the challenges ahead seem insurmountable. But here's something important to understand. When you're overwhelmed, the first thing you need to do is step back and choose silence. In the rush to solve everything, we often make the mistake of acting out of panic, making decisions that aren't thought through, or taking on tasks that aren't even necessary. It's in those moments of overwhelm that the best thing you can do is pause. Take a deep breath and allow yourself the space to think, to clear your mind. Silence gives you the clarity you need to move forward with intention, rather than reacting impulsively to every new pressure or responsibility. You see, when you're overwhelmed, your mind is cluttered with all the things you have to do, all the things that are coming at you from every direction. And when your mind is cluttered, your judgment is clouded. You can't think clearly and you can't make good decisions. But when you embrace silence, when you take a moment to step away and breathe, you allow the noise in your mind to quiet down. That's when your clarity begins to return. That's when you can start to see the path forward. In these moments, ask yourself, what's the one thing I need to do right now? Instead of trying to tackle everything all at once, focus on the most important task at hand. This is where silence is golden. It gives you the space to prioritize, to focus on the present moment, and to take one step at a time. Overwhelm often happens when we try to think about everything at once. But life isn't a race. Success is a series of steps, not a sprint. When you feel the weight of the world pressing down on you, remember that you don't have to have all the answers at once. You don't need to fix everything immediately. Taking a moment of silence isn't avoiding the problem, it's facing it with a clear, calm mind. It's about gathering your thoughts, gaining perspective, and giving yourself the time to assess the situation. Only then can you begin to act with confidence and make decisions that align with your long-term goals. You also have to remember that feeling overwhelmed is a natural part of growth. It's a sign that you're pushing yourself, that you're stretching beyond your comfort zone. But that doesn't mean you have to carry the weight alone. In these moments, silence can also give you the space to ask for help, to seek guidance, or to delegate tasks. Sometimes the best thing you can do when you're feeling overwhelmed is to step back and allow others to step in. You don't have to carry every burden by yourself. And let's not forget that overwhelm can sometimes be a result of not having clear priorities. When everything feels urgent, nothing feels urgent. But by stepping into silence and taking time to reflect, you can organize your thoughts and understand what truly needs your attention. It's about understanding that not every task is as urgent as it seems, and not every challenge is as big as it appears. With silence, you regain perspective. You give yourself the chance to approach your challenges with a clear head, and you can break down even the most overwhelming problems into manageable pieces. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, don't rush, don't react out of fear, stress, or urgency. Instead, embrace silence. Let it calm your mind, clear your thoughts, and help you regain focus. In that silence, you will find the strength to move forward, step by step, with purpose and clarity. You will find the space to breathe and the wisdom to know that overwhelming moments don't last, they are temporary, and you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. When you're being criticized, it's natural to feel defensive or hurt. Criticism often comes when we least expect it, and it can strike at our self-esteem or make us question our abilities. But here's something critical to remember: criticism is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of the perspective of the person offering it. How you respond to criticism, however, speaks volumes about who you are and what you're capable of. In moments of criticism, your first instinct may be to argue, to defend yourself, or to justify your actions. But in those moments, silence can be your best response. When someone is criticizing you, especially if it feels unfair or harsh, the temptation is to respond immediately, to defend your position, to explain yourself, or even to strike back with your own criticisms. But that's a knee-jerk reaction, and knee-jerk reactions rarely lead to productive outcomes. Instead, take a moment to pause. Step back, breathe, and let the criticism sink in without jumping to conclusions or forming your own response too quickly. In that moment of silence, you gain the space you need to reflect on what's really being said. Not every criticism is accurate, but many contain valuable feedback. When you pause before responding, you allow yourself the time to consider whether there's any truth to what's being said, and if there is, how you can use it to improve. Remember, criticism is often not personal, even though it can feel like it. People criticize because they see room for improvement or they feel frustrated by something you've done. It's not always an attack on you as a person. In fact, some of the most successful people are those who have been criticized the most, because they know that criticism, when handled correctly, is a tool for growth. The key is learning to separate your personal feelings from the feedback being offered. It's about focusing on the message, not the messenger. The ability to remain silent when criticized shows emotional maturity and self-control. It shows that you can take the heat without reacting rashly. Silence gives you the chance to reflect without getting swept up in emotion, and it allows you to make a more measured, thoughtful response once the initial sting is past. Silence also allows you to avoid escalating the situation. When you react defensively, you may make the situation worse. You might add fuel to the fire, and instead of resolving the issue, you may end up in a heated exchange that leads nowhere. But when you choose silence, you signal that you are in control of your emotions, that you are not easily rattled by others' opinions, and that you are willing to listen, learn, and grow. Criticism is a gift if you're willing to see it that way. It provides you with an opportunity to improve, to grow, and to refine your skills. It's a way to gain insight into how others perceive you and your work. By accepting criticism with grace, you show the world that you're not afraid to face your weaknesses and take action to correct them. But you have to be willing to listen. Sometimes, after a period of silence, you can ask questions to gain clarity. Was there something specific that caused the criticism? What could you do differently next time? These are the questions that lead to real growth. But again, this comes only after you've allowed yourself time to process the feedback. The most important thing to remember when you're criticized is this: your value isn't determined by someone else's opinion of you. The only person who has the right to define your worth is you. The criticism may sting, but it doesn't define you unless you let it. When you choose silence, you demonstrate strength of character. You show that you are not ruled by the words of others, but by your own standards, your own vision, and your own commitment to constant improvement. In the end, silence in the face of criticism is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. It allows you to pause, reflect, and grow from the experience. And in doing so, you elevate yourself to a higher level, one where you are no longer reactive, but proactive, one where you turn criticism into a stepping stone toward greater success. There are times in life when you know you have something important to say, something that's been building inside you for a while, but you're just not ready to speak your truth. Maybe you're unsure of the timing, maybe you're worried about the consequences, or maybe you're simply not clear on how to say it. Whatever the reason, this is a moment where silence becomes your ally. When you're not ready to speak your truth, it's not weakness that holds you back, it's wisdom. The truth is, words are powerful. Once they're out, they can't be taken back. And in moments of uncertainty, the best thing you can do is choose silence. Silence doesn't mean you're avoiding the truth or being dishonest. It means you're giving yourself the space you need to reflect, to clarify your thoughts, and to understand the deeper implications of what you're about to say. Too often we rush to speak because we feel the pressure to be heard, to share our opinions, or to make our point. But when we speak before we are truly ready, we risk speaking out of emotion, fear, or frustration. We risk saying things that we may not mean, or that could come out in a way that isn't fully aligned with our intentions. Silence gives us the opportunity to carefully consider our words and how they will impact others, and more importantly, how they will reflect on us. If you're not ready to speak your truth, take a moment to step back. Allow yourself time to reflect on the situation, to gather your thoughts, and to find the clarity you need. This process of reflection gives you the chance to examine why you feel the need to speak, what you hope to accomplish, and how you can communicate your truth in a way that is not only honest but constructive. And sometimes the silence isn't just about finding the right words, it's about finding the right timing. Speaking your truth at the wrong moment can be as damaging as not speaking it at all. Timing is everything. The right words spoken at the right time can move mountains, but words spoken out of turn or without thought can cause unnecessary conflict. So if you're not ready to speak your truth, take a step back and consider the best time to do so. Patience in this moment is a sign of strength. There's also an element of maturity in waiting to speak your truth. Speaking your truth isn't about asserting your opinions or showing everyone that you're right. It's about aligning your words with your values and your long-term vision. You might have the truth, but if you speak it prematurely or without thought, you might miss the opportunity to have the greatest impact. Silence, in this case, allows you to approach the situation with a sense of control, understanding, and maturity. You're not reacting to the situation impulsively. Instead, you are choosing to respond with wisdom. You also have to remember that not every moment is the right moment to speak your truth. There are times when listening is more valuable than speaking. If you're not ready to share your thoughts, sometimes the best course of action is to observe, to learn, and to allow others the space to express themselves. When you hold back from speaking, it doesn't mean you're not engaged, it means you're being deliberate, taking the time to understand the situation fully before you add your voice to it. The more you listen in these moments, the more you gather the insights you need to speak with greater clarity and purpose when the time is right. Silence also gives you the opportunity to reflect on your own motivations. Ask yourself, why do you feel the need to speak your truth? What is the outcome you desire? Sometimes we feel the need to speak because we want validation, because we want to be understood, or because we want to change someone's mind. But when we speak for these reasons, we're often speaking from a place of ego or emotion rather than clarity and purpose. Silence allows you to detach from those impulses and approach the situation with greater wisdom. So when you're not ready to speak your truth, don't rush it. Don't feel the pressure to say something just to fill the silence or to get your point across. Take the time you need to reflect, to process, and to prepare. And when you do finally speak, speak with conviction, clarity, and purpose. Speak in a way that aligns with your values, your vision, and the impact you want to have. The truth, spoken at the right time in the right way, has the power to inspire, to heal, and to create meaningful change. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait until you're truly ready to speak it.